But you shall also do this, so that they may be consecrated to me in the priesthood. Take a calf from the herd, and 2 immaculate rams, and unleavened bread, and a crust without leaven that has been sprinkled with oil, likewise unleavened cakes smeared with oil. You shall make them all from the same wheat flour. And having placed them in baskets, you shall offer them, along with the calf and the 2 rams. And you shall bring forward Aaron and his sons, to the door of the tabernacle of the testimony. And when you will have washed the father with his sons in water, you shall clothe Aaron in his vestments, that is, with the linen, and the tunic, and the ephod, and the breastplate, which you shall draw together with the wide belt. And you shall place the headdress on his head, and the holy plate upon the headdress. And you shall pour the oil of unction over his head. And so, by this rite, he shall be consecrated. Likewise, you shall bring forward his sons, and you shall clothe them in the linen tunics, and wrap them with the wide belt. Aaron, certainly, as well as his sons. And you shall impose headdresses upon them. And they shall be priests to me by a perpetual ordinance. After you have initiated their hands, you shall bring forward also the calf, in the presence of the tabernacle of the testimony. And Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands upon its head. And you shall sacrifice it in the sight of the Lord beside the door of the tabernacle of the testimony. And taking some of the blood of the calf, you shall place it upon the horns of the altar with your finger, but the remainder of the blood you shall pour next to its base. And you shall take all the fat which covers its intestines, and the mesh of the liver, as well as the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them, and you shall offer them as a burnt offering upon the altar. Yet truly, the flesh of the calf, and the hide and the dung, you shall burn outside, beyond the camp, because it is for sin. Likewise, you shall take 1 ram, and upon its head Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands. And when you will have sacrificed it, you shall take from its blood and pour it around the altar. Then you shall cut the ram into pieces, and having washed its intestines and feet, you shall place these upon the cut-up flesh and upon its head. And you shall offer the entire ram as a burnt offering upon the altar. It is an oblation to the Lord, a most sweet odor of the victim of the Lord. Likewise, you shall take the other ram, upon whose head Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands. And when you will have immolated it, you shall take of its blood, and place it on the tip of the right ear of Aaron and his sons, and on the thumbs and big toes of their right hand and right foot, and you shall pour the blood upon the altar, all around. And when you have taken from the blood that is on the altar, and from the oil of unction, you shall sprinkle Aaron and his vestment, his sons and their vestments. And after they and their vestments have been consecrated, you shall take the fat of the ram, and the rump, and the lard that covers the internal organs, and the mesh of the liver, and the 2 kidneys along with the fat that is on them, and the right shoulder, because it is the ram of consecration. And 1 turn of bread, a crust sprinkled with oil, and a cake from the basket of unleavened bread, which was placed in the sight of the Lord. And you shall place all these in the hands of Aaron and his sons, and you shall sanctify them, lifting them up in the sight of the Lord. And you shall take all these things from their hands and burn them upon the altar as a holocaust, as a most sweet odor in the sight of the Lord, because it is his oblation. Likewise, you shall take the chest of the ram, with which Aaron was initiated, and you shall sanctify it, lifting it up in the sight of the Lord, and it will fall to your share. And you shall sanctify both the consecrated chest and the shoulder that you separated from the ram, with which Aaron was initiated with his sons, and these will fall to the share of Aaron and his sons, as a perpetual oath by the sons of Israel. For these are the greatest and the first of their victims of peace, which they offer to the Lord. But the holy vestment, which Aaron shall use, his sons shall possess after him, so that they may be anointed in it, and their hands may be consecrated. For 7 days he who is high priest in his place and who enters the tabernacle of the testimony to minister in the sanctuary shall use it. But you shall take the ram of consecration and cook its flesh in the holy place. And Aaron and his sons shall feed on it. Likewise, the loaves which are in the basket, they shall consume in the vestibule of the tabernacle of the testimony, so that it may be an appeasing sacrifice, and so that the hands of those who offer may be sanctified. A stranger shall not eat from these, for they are holy. And what may remain until morning, of the consecrated flesh or of the bread, you shall burn these remnants with fire. These shall not be eaten, because they have been sanctified. All that I have instructed you concerning Aaron and his sons you shall do. For 7 days shall you consecrate their hands. And you shall offer a calf for sin on each day, as an atonement. And you shall cleanse the altar when you will have immolated the victim of expiation, and you shall anoint it for sanctification. For 7 days you shall expiate and sanctify the altar, and it shall be the Holy of Holies. All those who will touch it must be sanctified. This is what you shall acquire for the altar, 2 one-year-old lambs, each day continually. 1 lamb in the morning, and the other in the evening. For the 1 lamb, 1/10 part of fine flour sprinkled with crushed oil, which shall have the measure of the 4th part of a hin, and wine for a libation, of the same measure. Truly, the other lamb you shall offer in the evening, according to the ritual of the morning oblation, and according to what we have said, as an odor of sweetness. It is a sacrifice to the Lord by a perpetual oblation among your generations, at the door of the tabernacle of the testimony before the Lord, where I resolved to speak to you. And there I will instruct the sons of Israel, and the altar shall be sanctified by my glory. I will also sanctify the tabernacle of the testimony with the altar, and Aaron with his sons, to exercise the priesthood for me. And I will live in the midst of the sons of Israel, and I will be their God. And they shall know that I am the Lord their God, who led them away from the land of Egypt, so that I might dwell among them. I am the Lord their God.